everyone. Welcome to Women in Gaming Month. I want to say happy Pride, happy Women in Gaming Month. We are here to have a Women in Gaming panel. We are also raising money for Hope Haven of Cass County, which is a women's shelter. This is my third year running Women in Gaming Month, and this year I partnered with TPK Roleplay. So huge thank you for them for helping us build layout and letting us stream on their channel today. Also, a huge thank you to our sponsors sponsoring this event. So we have really awesome prizes that will randomly go in chat. Our sponsors this year are D&D Beyond, Talon and Claw, Arcane Spectacles, Creatology by Kara, and this is the second year Tabletop Loot has supported and donated to Women in Gaming Month this year. So huge thank you to them. So stay tuned in chat. Also, we will have links in chat so you can donate to Hope Haven of Cass County during coronavirus. Homeless shelters and are getting more people in now than ever, and abuse rates are going up. So this is a great time to support your local women's shelter. So we'll have links directly to their website so you can donate on their site. They also have an Amazon wish list. So you can purchase things and choose their address to ship it straight to the shelter to support them. To get started, today we're doing a Women in Gaming Month panel. We have a lot of amazing women here today. All of them do really cool things for their community, and they're also gamers. So we will first go around and do introductions. Then we'll do a Q&A section where everyone will kind of talk about their backgrounds and experiences as women in gaming. Everyone in chat's welcome to put questions into chat. If we have time, we'll go ahead and try to answer some of those as well. With introductions, I'll go ahead and get us started. I'm Elise. I'm DnD Elise on social media. Also a Grip of the Green over on Twitch chat. I am a DM's Guild writer, and I also publish content on RPG Drive-Thru. And we'll just kind of go around the circle I see right here, and we'll start with Kim.
I'm Kim, or A Geeky Tea Party, and I stream on Twitch, and I also play a lot of Pathfinder and D&D over at Capricorn Cross's channel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Next up is Shannon.
Everybody, I'm Shannon, SROB25 on everything. I am a cast member over at Paradise RPG. We stream our D&D 5e live stream actual play. I gotta remember all the hashtags. On Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have a talk show Sundays, the Tim and Shannon Power Hour, and we just started a show on Wednesdays where our DM, Sean, gets away from his players for a little bit, except not really because we hang out and chat, and he shows us some of his crafts that he makes for our streams and talks about his lore, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, check us out at Paradise RPG. We'd love to have you.
Thank you for being on. Up next is Fiona.
Hi, I'm Fiona Nowling. I'm also English Mouse on Discord, and I'm actually the president of 90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. I've got a couple of shows I do on there. One's called Every Woman, which is a feminist show, and I've had Elise on there as a guest a couple of times. I also run a support group called SOFA, which is Significant Others, Friends, Family and Allies of Transgender and Non-Binary Persons. So I'm also very keen on equality and involvement for the LGBT community.
That is amazing. Thanks for coming on. Up next is Bridget.
Okay, well, I don't have quite an impressive resume as everybody else, but I'm Bridget. I make dice bags, basically. I play with a couple of local groups, one all-girl group, one mixed group, and that, yeah, I sort of work under the name Wayward Masquerade, and that's pretty much me, yeah.
Welcome to the panel. And Cherie.
Hi, I'm Sherry, also known as Otter in most online spaces. I am the president of Equal Opportunity Geeks, which is an online group for geeks of all types. Very open and welcoming. I'm also the events coordinator for Equal Opportunity GeekCon, which is a small local gaming con that just started last year. We'll be going into our second year this year. We're in Central New York, and that will take place in November. Hopefully it'll be in person. If not, we will be online. So if we are online, or even partially online, I hope you'll check us out. In addition to what I do with my own group, I am a contributor to the Not Quite Heroes podcast. I helped build their community built world. And I stream on Twitch on Sundays with the Real Women of Gaming show Malhaven. And I was just made the social media director and an editor with the Real Women of Gaming. So I'm brand new to their organization, other than I've been streaming with them for a couple of months. But so I'm a little busy.
I know the
But
feeling.
you can find all of this. You can find my group. You can find Real Women of Gaming and Not Quite Heroes podcast on both Twitter and Facebook. And please check us out.
Awesome. Yeah, and everyone feel free to put your links down in chat so everyone can see your things. So my first question for everyone is, how did you get started in gaming? And what was that first game that was like that hooked you in gaming?
Are we going in any sort of
anyone
order?
can go.
All right,
This is gonna be
cool.
a free-for-all.
I love this question. This is my favorite question. So I'm relatively new to the TTRPG space. I started about 2 years ago, where my DM Sean was getting a group of us together, a group of us from high school and some other friends, and he's just like, let's play D&D. And I like knew it involved dice, but that was about it. And from the moment I played my first game, I was hooked. I was like, where was this all of my life? And why have I not been playing this? And it just like my love for it grew ever since that first session 2 years ago. We actually just had our 2-year anniversary like last week for our home campaign, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, I cannot get enough. I love storytelling. I love hanging out with my friends, and I love, creating these stories. And and I'm a natural performer, so I really like to do improv and just like be expressive and crazy. So this was a really great way to do that.
Well, I'm quite a bit older, I think, than everybody else on this panel. The first time I was invited to a D&D game was in 1985 when I was 13 years old. 2 boys in my class said, "Hey, you want to come play?" And I'd been a big fantasy reader since I was able to read, so I tried it out. Unfortunately, we didn't live there very long for me to continue playing. I wasn't invited again until my senior year of high school, which was in '89, and I started playing and played like religiously. We would get together for marathon sessions where we would start at like 10 o'clock in the morning and go into the wee hours of the morning all through college. And then unfortunately, we also tried a couple of other games in addition to Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big fan of horror role playing. Old school horror role playing, like the original Call of Cthulhu and Chill and Beyond the Supernatural, and games that you guys probably have never even heard of, some of them. But then after that, I really didn't play for a really, really long time, until about 3 years ago. I got back into playing and have been pretty avid with it since, and gotten my own daughter into it. She's an avid player, and that's why we created the gaming convention. In addition, we're also big board gamers, card gamers. If it involves a game, it involves sitting down with a bunch of people at a table, we're pretty much for it in our world.
So I'll go next. I first heard about Dungeons and Dragons when I was in high school, but at that point I went to an all-girls high school, and it turned out I found on my very last day in high school in 1989 that the boys' school had had a D&D gaming group all along, and it had never occurred to them to ask any of the girls if they wanted to play. So I missed out on that opportunity. And then after I moved over to the US and I had a job at a company, some of the guys were playing Munchkin at lunchtime. And so I joined the Munchkin gaming group, and then one of them was trying to set up a new gaming group and asked me because I was already in the group. And that was actually a game called Torg, which is Toorg, the Other Realms game. And we played that for somewhere between 5 and 7 years, with maybe the occasional hiatus for if our GM, when they had a new baby, tends to put things on a slight pause. And really loved that game because you can merge all sorts of realms. You can merge horror stuff and Cthulhu-esque type things with action adventure, Indiana Jones type stuff with classic D&D type stuff. So I really loved the way you can merge all sorts of different environments together, and anyone can play as anything. And then that group folded, but one of my friends from there got me interested in 5th edition, and I got to play in his group for a while. And I'm currently playing with a different 5th edition group every other week, and it's a really nice group of people.
That's really cool. Anyone else?
So I started playing. Well, you know, I grew up in the 90s, so I knew about D&D, but I never played. I didn't know anybody that played, but I knew what it was. But I started playing. My very first game was February 2018, and it was on Twitch. And I started, like, for that whole year I was playing. I think I played on everybody's channel, but and then I got married and had a baby, and that kind of stopped that for a while. And so just actually recently, in the last few months, I started playing again, which actually on the same channel that I first started. So that's how I got started.
Nice. All right, and anyone else?
I started when I would have been about 16, 17 with 2nd edition Shadowrun, and that didn't last very long. And then there was again a gap, and then I saw a beginner's night at the local sort of comic book shop, and went along, and basically I've been playing on and off ever since, which is probably like at least 10 years now. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, pretty close. And I've got 2 groups at the moment, and we've played all kinds of games. Started after Shadowrun 2nd edition, it was Swords and Wizardry, then Dungeon Fall Classics. I didn't actually get to D&D for like a few more years. Played Traveller, we played World of Darkness. Quite a few of the people in my group collect like a lot of games, so we get to try lots of different ones.
That's awesome. And we're going to pause real quick to do our first giveaway for the stream right now. So D&D Beyond donated some codes for a player's handbook. So right now we're going to do a giveaway for 1 free player's handbook over, it's a digital copy on D&D Beyond. So pay attention in chat for how to enter that contest. All right. And oh no, I just big screened my chat here. And hopefully they put that up there. All right, so my next question for everyone is how has gaming impacted you as a person? And what's like a positive impact gaming's had on you?
For me, it led to a complete change in career. I was a web and graphic designer and marketer type person, and not a particularly successful one. And then I'd probably been playing at the store for a few years, and I'd always sewn things, and so I made a little Cthulhu dice bag. I think overnight, 8 hours, no sleep, because why would I be sensible about it? And I took it into the store, and it sold within 3 hours, and it's not exactly been like a runaway success, but it's kept going. And it sort of took over my life from there. So it was a complete change. It's also been the source of you know, like a completely different social group as well, and that's been really positive. And it's brought, I think, groups together that might not otherwise have known each other, which like and yeah, like I met my best friend through gaming. I think he rolled up to the store one day, and the store owner sort of pointed him to my table, and he turned up. And when he next joined the game, he decided he wanted to play a shovel fighter, so just a fighter but with a shovel instead of another weapon. And it's like, okay, we're going to be friends. And yeah, so all around a really big impact on my life, at least.
Awesome. And anyone else impacted by gaming in a positive way?
Yeah. So when I first started playing about 2 years ago, it was a huge creative outlet for me. When I was younger, I loved to write fantasy stories. I actually just found them like 2 weeks ago, and my God, they're awful. But it was so funny just to see the ideas that I came up with when I was younger, and it just brought back so much happiness and positivity and creativity and magic, for lack of a better term, to my life. And then when I got started streaming and I got really involved on Twitter, it has done wonders for my self-esteem and my self-confidence. Like I've never felt this good about myself. I've never like been this happy before. And that was something that the community really helped, foster for me. And it's a joy.
That's awesome.
I was gonna say something similar in that when I started playing D&D, I had went through a divorce, and I was like just not myself anymore, and I didn't know who I was, and I started playing, and it was like that. It just sparked that creativity in me as well, and I met the people in the community were really supportive and encouraging, and it's been a great thing in my life.
Yep. I've made some of my closest friends both in person and online because of gaming. It's really been a very positive influence on both myself and for my daughter. And it's just, I mean, people from the con, there are people that I talk to regularly that were either guests at our con or were running games or selling their wares. That's been fantastic. My friends that I've made through Not Quite Heroes and Real Women of Gaming and Red Knight and it's just amazing how many people I have friends all over the world now because of I've gamed online with people in Japan and in Germany, and it's just incredible. It's really been a very, very positive thing in my life.
Hard agree on that one. So
Yeah.
many new friends, and there's so many of them in chat. Hi friends, thank you for being here.
Yeah, same here. I met lots of people through gaming. All right, and anyone else?
I was just going to echo everyone else, really, just meeting really awesome people and new groups of friends. I actually knew about half of my current gaming group before I joined the gaming group, because I'm also in a crafting group where people knit and crochet. And one of them said, we were talking about gaming and sci-fi and stuff, and they said, we've got a vacancy. Did you want to join the group? So there is a bad tendency, though, with a lot of the people in the group being crafters, that if you hit a slow point and everything slows down, people won't whip out their knitting or their crochet and still pay 3/4 attention, but also be doing something else.
Well, that's
Instead of
better.
gaming.
That's so much better than the tables I've sat at where people were on their phones. I would rather have somebody. I would rather see people knitting or crocheting or needlepoint or anything rather than on their phones.
Like I'd bring my my hand sewing, whatever I was working on at the time, to groups, and so it was weird though, because people would they'd get to like whatever I was making, and it'd be like, I'm really sorry guys, this has a home. This is going somewhere. But yeah, so I'd be like sewing like a Cthulhu or a dragon or something at the table.
All right, and did everyone get a chance to answer? 'Cause if so, we're gonna do our next giveaway. Make sure to donate to Hope Haven of Cass County. We're raising money for the women's shelter. They also have an Amazon wish list, so click on that to support. We're going to do a giveaway for forged dice. So they're these like really beautiful metal dice. They're silver and they got purple enamel. It's a full set of dice, and I think it's a full set of like D6s too. So I think you get like 6 D6s. So to enter this giveaway, name your favorite video game in chat to enter. Okay.
I want to enter this one.
All right. So our next question for everyone on the panel is what's kind of like an obstacle that you yourself or just in general that women in gaming face? And what do you think is a solution to that obstacle?
I think there's an assumption, and I think that is changing in time, especially with the internet. But there is an assumption about that it's kind of a boys' club, and the assumption that women have never been in the industry and in gaming, and but when you actually look into the history, we've always been there. But you still, and I think it depends on the groups that you move in as to like how much you actually see that. But every now and again, you do run into it, and it's that person where there was only ever one woman in a group, or none, and just the concept that you couldn't know, you couldn't, you must be new, which isn't a bad thing being new. It's just you're kind of, it's either they're assuming that you're new, that you don't know anything, or you have to prove yourself. And those, I don't know that that's necessarily an obstacle that cis dudes face. I mean, I'm not one, so I can't say for sure, but there is that sort of assumption that we're kind of new, and also that we're sort of taking over rather than we've always been here. We're just doing our own. I'm not sure what the right word is. Becoming more visible, I think, is probably the term.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that, I remember going into my first game being like, I don't know anything. And like, without, just like, that was my literal first thoughts. Like, I don't know how to do this. Everybody else around me knows how to do this. And I just automatically assumed that like, I was the quote worst one at the table. And I'm very, very, very lucky to be in 2 groups. I'm the only woman in both of those groups, but both of them are very respectful and inclusive, and I love them so much. So my experience in both of my main groups has been very, very positive. But I do remember thinking when I first started, just like, oh God, I can't do this. This isn't going to work, or I'm never going to be good at this. And all of those just negative thoughts constantly going in my head. And
is it okay? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
Oh, sorry. I thought you'd finished.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. It just got me thinking. Years ago, we did an intro night because when a friend was running Adventurers League, he actually asked me to come along, and he said basically, I want you there because you're a female face that knows this stuff. So if other girls come along, they'll have someone that they can talk to if they're not comfortable talking to the guys. And he was right. There were a number of women who came along and kind of immediately sat next to me, and I think that's the thing we do just for safety sometimes. But so what we did is I organised an intro night to role playing in general, and we didn't have enough female DMs, so the guys stepped up, and it was actually, they were amazingly supportive, which was great. But I remember a lot of the people who came along, sort of women and non-binary people that came along, and a lot of them said, no one told us this was for us. They said that's why they came along. It's because it was it specifically said, this is for you. And I wonder, like, I didn't get into it until, I didn't get into it in childhood. It was more like my late teen years. And I wonder how many other people were like that. think, just basically, especially women, non-binary people, being told, or just not being told, this is for you. You can do this. And yeah, that's what I thought of when you were mentioning feeling like you didn't know anything.
Yeah, and nobody, I want to make that clear, nobody at my table told me that. That was me, like, from all of my past and current insecurities. But like, it was so ingrained in me that I just automatically assumed that, yeah, they know more than I do. But my husband was also brand new to the game, and he'd never played before either. So I don't know, just something that's always been ingrained in my mind. But I'm very happy that it's slowly going down there. It's not completely gone. I don't think it ever will be, but it's going down.
Yeah.
Good.
As someone who's been in and out of the gaming community for over 30 years now, early on, it never even occurred to me that girls didn't play D&D. I'd always been invited. My first game was, we were 13. They weren't trying to hit on me. They just wanted somebody else to play. And I think one of them saw me reading a fantasy book, said, hey, why don't you come play? And then after that, I was always in mixed tables. I was always at tables that had more than one woman at it. I never played with me being the only woman. It was always very mixed tables. So it wasn't until years later that I came across it, and it's the same in gaming, video gaming, comic books, all of these geeky things. We as women get more backlash and more gatekeeping. And it always shocks me when I come across that. And it shouldn't, because that was the whole purpose of me making Equal Opportunity Geeks, was because I was seeing women getting smacked around, and the whole fake geek gamer girl thing that was going on. That's why I created it, was so that I had this safe place that I can invite other people. It was never meant to be anything more than just a page for funny memes and stories, but it was a safe place for all of us. And I took my cue from pages like Nerds with Vaginas. Was really a big influence on why I created this. And it was just, this was going to be something I was going to post things I liked. And it got a little bigger, and I started becoming involved in other conventions and things locally and further out. So we created our own. But my daughter gets more backlash than I do. As she's 21, she's in college. She gets a lot more gatekeeping than I do, mostly because I'm an outspoken older woman who will tell these little boys, get out of my face. Whereas she's still trying to find her way. I mean, she's a very strong young woman, but she gets a lot more backlash than I do. Thankfully, her boyfriend plays, and she can play with him, and all of her college friends now play. They have a very large group that they play with. It's really wonderful. Most of her friends now play. So she's found that. But sometimes as a mom, I'm like, did I do her any favors by raising her as a geek? Because it's not an easy place to be in as a woman.
But some of us find geekness by ourselves. We were always destined for geekness. At least you've enabled her and given her a role model in geekiness to enable her to be strong and to see that other women can be there and take space and claim it for themselves.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I started reading science fiction and fantasy books from the library, and my mother was like, if I'd known you were going to read useless stuff like that, I would have kept your father's first edition Asimovs. And I'm like, I nearly cried. So, but I think the main obstacle that I faced was it never occurred to the boys that girls might want to play a game like that. And I think it's less of a stereotype and an obstacle now, but it still doesn't occur to some people to invite people into the space that they might be interested if they had a chance.
I think I've had the same experience as Sherry, right?
Yeah.
Since I am an older woman, and I will tell you off, I don't care. I have not experienced any of the negative side myself. I have seen it happen to other people, but as far as like my personally, I have never experienced it. But I think one of the things that is definitely changing is there's a smaller percentage of people that do have those say those negative things, but there's a larger percentage of people that will now smack them down. Because I think one of the things with men is, they want to be, since we're talking about it's being male dominated, they want to be seen as macho or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, and so they won't say, hey, don't speak that way to her. But I think nowadays more men are saying, hey, don't speak that way to her, this is for everyone, than they did say back in the 80s or early 90s.
And when you said about male dominated, we can sometimes be a hazard to ourselves and to other minorities in acceptance and welcome, because someone posted a question online the other day and said, hey, all non-male people, how do you find this? Asking for experience from people that aren't part of the main dominant group in society. And there were a lot of women in there who blew up and said it was just diminishing them because they were being lumped in as non-male, and as if maleness was what to define everyone by.
Right.
And people explained to them, we're making sure we don't exclude non-binary people with differing gender identities, but some of them just wouldn't shut up and would not stop being nasty. So the poor person who originally wanted input on how people can be more included had to just lock the thread and walk away from it.
Sadly, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's different spaces, there's different stores, there's different conventions, there's different groups of people, and some are super accepting and welcoming, and some are super gatekeeping and are like, we want to fit the stereotype of white males only play games. So I feel like both of those are there in tabletop, especially it's really bad in video gaming. So what do you think are some solutions to change that? Like, what do you think it takes to start shifting that paradigm and kind of turning a heel on those stereotypes that say, oh, only white guys game, no one else? Like, how do we fix that? What are things that we can do in our communities or at our game stores in the industry that you think would help make gaming more diverse?
I saw something recently, whether it was a tweet or an Instagram post or something, and it was like, when somebody says something that you don't agree with, ask them to explain it, and just simply say why, and have them explain it. And then if you don't get the information you want, or if it's not enough, just I don't understand, and just make them explain, and maybe it will help them come to some sort of revelation on their own that, oh, maybe I didn't need to say that.
The first time I heard that referred to was rape jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you just don't have us as, please, I don't understand. Tell me why that's funny.
Exactly.
And make them explain why that's funny.
Why. Yep, exactly.
It's amazing how quickly they'll back down when you do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't want to put the stereotype that oh, I don't understand. Oh, I'm such an airhead. That's not what I mean. It's just literally explain this to me, because I really do not understand why this is funny, because it's offensive. And I've also, going off of that, as a teacher, I really like to work with my kids on social emotional development. And I've learned a lot about communication and language that you use with people. And you can say the same thing, but the way that you say it has an effect on the other person. So if you're trying to, say to somebody hey, I didn't really like how you did that, instead of, attacking them, be like, that was terrible, you're awful, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying something like that, you keep the language to yourself, and you say, I felt this way when you did this, and you address the behavior instead of the person's character. And that was one of the main things I took away from all of the workshops and things that I did, is just addressing behavior and telling people how you feel, instead of trying to tell other people how they feel.
I think explicitly inviting people. If
Yes.
people aren't part of the dominant culture, then explicitly saying all persons of color, all women, or LGBTQ, any minority, anyone is welcome and will be included.
Yeah, I actually, before our convention last year, I reached out to a group to ask for ways that we could be more inclusive, more encouraging. How could we do that? And there were a couple things that I walked away from a very great conversation with. And one of them was to be specifically not just saying, we welcome these people, but reaching out to groups. I gave away tables to local women's shelter. I gave away a table to a local group that works with LGBTQ youth, just so that then they would know that this was a safe place for them.
That's a
And
really cool
also,
idea.
yeah, and also to put people of color, women, and people who just we want to bring into these spaces, put them in the front, have them working the front table. So when someone walks in, they're not just seeing, they're seeing someone who's like them, not just
Yes.
seeing. And unfortunately, most of our volunteers were young white college students. That's what we got. But the few that we did get that weren't, we're like, okay, we want you over here at the front desk. You're going to be checking people's tickets and things like that, because I wanted to make sure that the first thing that they saw was not the stereotype. I wanted them to see that we were open to diverse people. And that was a great conversation. And I really learned a lot from that about how to not just say that we're open to everybody, but to prove it with our staffing and how we staff.
I think that we need to also show up, you know, when you're invited, show up. Don't, you know, like Shannon was saying, she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know what? Doesn't matter. Just show up. Because if you want to change a place, you have to be there. You have to show up. And then you can encourage other people to show up.
You can set the example for other people. And I remember seeing, I'm a very visual person, if you can't tell. I remember seeing some sort of like a picture, and it said, it only takes one person to start change. And if one person does it, then more people do it, and it just snowballs and gets bigger. So yeah, I agree, Kim, be the person that shows up, because you can affect so many different lives for the good.
And if people aren't creating the things that we want to see,
Create them.
Make it.
That's what I did. That's why I did it, was because I was going to things and it was all the same people. And what amazed me is how very few of those people came to the con. Oh, we want a con. We want a con. But when I said, okay, well, this is the con I'm creating. I had one local gaming group contact me, the president of the gaming group contact me and say, well, tell me more about it so I can know if I want to encourage the people in my group to go. It's a gaming con.
Yeah, it's like words, actions make a match.
If you want gaming cons, go to the ones that are being created.
Yeah, a lot of people like the idea of diversity and inclusivity, but not very many people show up for it. And I think that's a very good point, that show up and speak up.
People don't want to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
I think some of the online access is good, especially for inclusion for disability. A lot of the group chats like this, you can have it do automatic subtitles. So if you've got anyone hard of hearing, or anyone who has an issue with, say, my accent being British and they can't follow it if I speak fast, the subtitles can help and catch up.
I love that. I saw that on a stream recently. I was like, that is so cool. Yeah. Need to find out how to do that, because that's awesome.
I think.
Oops.
Did she?
Also, more locally, we can. Well, actually, supporting. Oh, my internet connection is unstable.
You're back.
Oh, back? Okay, cool. What I was saying was, I think supporting what other people are doing as well, and that's, you know, and that's not always about money, especially if you don't have a lot to spare. But things like the store that I learned to game at was run by a woman, and that made a big difference. And also things like, you know, supporting podcasts that center women or POC or you know, LGBTQ people. Having that support makes a difference.
Yeah. One of the local LGBTQ centers, they actually have a regular gaming night, or they did before they had to close for the virus. But they're reopening soon and they will be restarting their gaming night. And there's also a local sex dungeon, and they have a regular Dungeon and Dragons group at the dungeon. So there's lots of non-typical environments that you can find gaming in.
Mm.
That's awesome. I might throw it in here too, just because I've lived in a lot of different cities, big cities, and I've been in gaming stores where people are super welcoming, and I've been in gaming stores where like children aren't welcome in here, and it's like, but you sell gaming stuff, and I never went back again. But if you are a game store owner or you're running an event, reach out to women or people in the LGBTQI community, people with different racial and religious disability statuses. Reach out to those folks, because I've noticed the folks that have reached out to me as like those ended up being like really great stores, and they're inclusive and they're just kind to everyone and treat people like family, and I think that will help create diverse stores. So yeah, definitely reach out to folks. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. So we're gonna do our last giveaway for the panel. We'll have more giveaways for our next D&D game. So our next item is a really cool spell tracker created by Arcane Spectacles. So if you like to play D&D and track your spell slots, this is for you. So to enter, type in chat a woman in gaming that inspires you. So type in your favorite woman in gaming to enter the super cool giveaway. And don't forget, we are streaming today to raise money for Hope Haven of Cass County, which is a women's shelter. They help women, children, and also men escaping sexual assault and abusive situations. They help them with resources, they help them with housing, court advocacy, and all kinds of really great stuff. So click on their links to donate straight to their website, or click on their Amazon wish list to have stuff shipped directly to the shelter. All right.
Can I
Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
say one thing about
Yeah.
the last point we were talking about gaming stores, but reach beyond the gaming stores. My daughter, but she was playing at the local library. They had a D&D game every other week. And so, those are other places, because some people might be intimidated to go into a gaming store for all the reasons mentioned before. So move it beyond the gaming stores, go to libraries. I mean, have it in your home or somebody else's home, and put a sign at the hair salon or something, like places that the target market you're trying to reach is going.
And remember that people do talk. So if you're a local gaming store and your owner does a racist rant online, people in the gaming community are going to share that around and say, don't go to this store, boycott them, because that has happened locally.
Yeah, and I think this is an extend too in the industry, because like I think the last couple of weeks we've seen a lot of women in tabletop and video game industry, talk about some of the hardships they face just working in a male-dominated industry. So I think some solutions there are, ensuring HRA like hires people with high emotional intelligence and who are diverse groups. Also, don't overlook diverse groups for promotions or leadership positions, because a lot of people work in the industry, but few women are in those leadership spots, and we need women, LGBTQIA, people of different racial backgrounds and disability status in these leadership positions to help make decisions and to create really diverse, good working teams. And I think that makes the company look good too. Like I personally, like when D&D put out a book that's almost written, most of the writers were women. I'm like, yes, I want to buy that, like that's awesome. And I'd love to see more industries doing stuff like that. I think it's really great. So yeah, so to wrap up, I'll ask our final question today. So I wanted to ask everyone, share your final thoughts, and also why you think Women in Gaming Month is important.
Well, I think any kind of visibility is important, and that can take a lot of different forms. And if it means that the next generation doesn't grow up thinking that, well, I can't do that. That's not for me. Then that's a positive thing.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I think we kind of already answered that. It was that is to show that there are women in gaming, that we are that not only are we here now, we've always been here. And that we will continue to be here regardless of what the gatekeepers want. We're not going anywhere. So come join us, have a really, really good time with us.
And when you join, remember to, be kind to each other and include everybody. And if you don't like something, address it respectfully. You don't have to get along with everybody, but everybody, I think, deserves respect. And there's ways to handle conflict, and you can do it in ways that make everybody walk away feeling like they've been heard.
And to be kind to yourself as well.
Yes. That too.
You especially, Shannon.
Going back to your point about the imposter syndrome,
yes,
it's easy for us to feel that we don't belong somewhere, or that everyone else is doing better, especially if you do an action for your character and they're supposed to give an inspirational speech. Depending on your GM, some of you might actually have to do an inspirational speech for your role to work. And sitting there going, I can't inspire people, I don't have anything to say, can spoil the moment, definitely.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
Any other final thoughts? All right, so we will go ahead and start wrapping up the panel. So what we'll do is we'll go around, everyone can share again who they are, some of the stuff they do in the community, also share, talk about your links, your social media, also put those in chat so people can follow you and see all the things that you create and do. I am your host. I am at DnD Elise on Twitter and Facebook. I'm also a Grip of the Green over in Twitch. I am a published writer of the D&D 5e content on the DMs Guild and Drive-Thru RPG, and this is my third year running Women in Gaming Month. We'll go the other direction. So we'll start with Kim and go counterclockwise this time.
Okay. Again, I'm Kim, or a Geeky Tea Party, and I have Twitter, and I'll probably be on there more now that I'm getting back into, my baby's 16 months now, and she's able to, stay with daddy or, entertain herself for a little while. So I'm getting back into things, and I'll start being on Twitter more and streaming. So that's where I'm at now. But I think my Twitter is there. And that's it. And
Awesome.
thank you for having me, though. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed talking with all these ladies.
Yeah, and thanks for being here. I've actually done Women in Gaming Month every year with Kim. So this is my third year hanging out with Kim. She is awesome. Awesome. Thanks for coming on. And Sherry is up next.
Okay. You can find me on my personal Twitter at Dancing Otter, or more likely, I spend a lot more time on my Twitter page for Equal Opportunity Geeks, which is EO Geeks. I'm also EO Geeks on Facebook. I can also be found streaming on Twitch on Sunday nights with the Real Women of Gaming's Malhaven. And I'm going to be more involved with them. If you are on the Not Quite Heroes podcast Discord, I'm very active on there, and I'm one of the people that helped create that world. I also did mention it before. I'm in the process of making a podcast. I used to be a podcast producer, so I'm starting my own. It's called Otter Geekdom Sweet Replay. And we will also be doing an RPG one where we'll be doing all different types of real play RPG. We'll be doing both new and independent games along with older games. So keep on the lookout for that, because every time we change games, we'll be looking for new players. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to me. And especially if they have a game that they really, really love, that they would love to see us do, we've got that going on. So thank you very much for having me. And I had just had a fantastic time.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I always see you at the Red Night Inn, so it's
Yep.
awesome to see your face. That's very nice. So Bridget, you're up next.
Okay. Well, I am Wayward Masquerade pretty much everywhere that I'm active. I have also a small Etsy store, also just Wayward Masquerade, and that's really about what I do. We just small little dice bags that happen to be dragons or Cthulhu's or unicorns.
They're beautiful. They're really beautiful.
Amazing.
Hmm.
We've got we're about to finish up a Kickstarter for the Dragon Baggins. So about 1,500. Just the New Zealand shipment is going to arrive here shortly. I don't know where we're going to put them, but I guess we'll find out. So they'll be possibly yes. There is a solid chance that that's part of where some of them will be stored if we can like seal them up really well. But yeah, they'll be available soon, hopefully, for regular retail rather than just pre-order. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Yeah, and don't forget, everyone, put your links in Twitch chat so everyone can see your stuff. Up next is Fiona.
So I'm Fiona Nowling, and that's how I am on Twitter and Facebook. And I'm president of 90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. And they can be found at kkfi.org. And they have all sorts of interesting programming. And personally, other than that, I'd just like to thank everyone for the opportunity and for getting to meet so many wonderful women and to have time to hang out with everyone.
And thank you for being here. Yeah, like check out her radio station. It's in my old hometown. So thanks for coming. Up next, Shannon.
Hi everybody, I'm Shannon. I'm at sroby25 on everything. I'm most active on Twitter, so you can find me there every day. I am a cast member over at Paradise RPG. I'm also our community manager. You can find us on Twitter at Paradise RPG, and Paradise is spelled Paradice, like you're rolling a dice. We thought it was funny and we stuck with it. So that's our username on everything. I'll drop our link tree in the chat in just a second, where it has all our links. We're on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, YouTube, and podcast locations. And our flagship show, Advantage in Paradise, is Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern over on our Twitch channel. And I play Scarlet, a fiery rogue, and I love her so much. She's a badass. So if we would love to have you come join us in Paradise. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I love talking about this kind of stuff, and it was so wonderful to meet you ladies.
So thank you everyone for being here. Thank our viewers for stopping by. We will have another event here in about an hour. I will be DMing Through the Veil, Tales of the Feywild. We're gonna have some really super cool prizes. A beautiful wooden DM screen made by Talon and Claw. We have gift cards. We have all kinds of neat stuff up for grabs from our wonderful sponsors. A big thank you to TPK Roleplay for helping me set up this event and putting lots of hard work into all the beautiful layouts and the stream. Huge thank you to our sponsors, who are DnD Beyond, Talon and Claw, Tabletop Loot, Arcane Spectacles, and Creatology by Kara. And don't forget to check out our links in chat to donate to Hope Haven of Cass County, which is a women's shelter. Right now, because of the coronavirus, homeless shelters and women's shelters need our help now more than ever, because more and more people are needing those resources right now. So check out the link to donate directly to Hope Haven of Cass County's website, or you can check out their Amazon wish list to purchase things that they need for the shelter, and choose their address, and it'll ship it straight to them to help families in need right now. So thank you so much for everyone who came. And yeah, we'll be back at 5 o'clock. So Central Time. We'll see you. Bye.